Greetings, Victorians, and welcome to Update 1.12. 1.12 will be releasing for free alongside the Iberian Twilight DLC. One of the first new things that you might notice is that now when passing a law, negotiations will take place. Negotiations can take place between you and the interest groups. You can offer them something of value to them in exchange for supporting the law that you're trying to pass. Now, an interest group that opposes a law can be negotiated with to bring them up to a neutral position, where they will not be trying to stall it anymore. And a neutral interest group can be negotiated with to support a law rather than sitting on the sidelines. An interest group's willingness to negotiate with you is based on their amenability, and that is a value that ranges from 0 to 100. Amenability will take into account a wide variety of factors, including modifiers from events and previous negotiations. Moving on to amendments, which is our new system which makes laws more modular. Amendments can be added to laws through events during the enactment process, and will come into effect if the law successfully passes. Additionally, you may find that some countries start the game with laws in effect that have amendments already applied. You can also try to repeal the amendment without changing the parent law it's attached to. Several countries have had their political setup at the start of the game completely reworked. These are Spain, Portugal, Cuba, the Philippines, Morocco, and Haiti. And as for Spain, you may notice that they do start out in a war. This is the Carlist War, and this is a new experimental feature we're trying out in 1.12. The Carlist War is a small-scale war, a guerrilla war if you will. This is meant to represent more small-scale conflicts and asymmetrical warfare. In this war, battles will tend to be smaller and spawn at a much lower pace than in a regular war. There are new sets of battle conditions that can occur during guerrilla wars, and generally they have a larger focus on inflicting more morale damage to the enemy and trying to receive less physical damage in return. Many character traits have also been adjusted to account for this type of warfare. And finally, no territories will be occupied during a guerrilla war. It is important to remember this is a limited implementation of an experimental feature and applies only to the Carlist War in Spain. We do hope to expand this going into the future though. The new coup system will completely replace the coup journal entry that's contained in the Voice of the People immersion pack, and makes it free to all users. As a result of this, we have also decided to make the new paid Depose Ruler Dynasty decision and country-specific patriotic sashes contained in Iberian Twilight also be unlocked by Voice of the People. In the new coup system, if an interest group's approval is reduced to -10, and there is an applicable military commander belonging to the same interest group, they will be able to start a coup against the government. So deeply upsetting an interest group while they are in control of your military could be a bad idea. Colonies will now have a governance principle law variant of their own. The Colonial Administration law variant represents non-sovereign colonial administrations such as Cuba, Puerto Rico, or the East India Company, providing a sharp increase in political strength to bureaucrats and officers. Most colonial administrations will have the subjecthood law enacted with the Colonial Racialization Amendment attached. If a civil war were to occur in a colonial administration, the revolutionary or successionist side will receive an event that allows them to choose a different governance principle law. A similar event will occur if a colonial administration ever becomes independent. An additional improvement to colonial administration is a new diplomatic action that we've added. Change language of administration action will be included in the Sphere of Influence DLC and allow a colonial overlord to change a colony's primary culture to match their own. If, for example, Portugal were to come into possession of the formerly British Raj, they may use this interaction to switch out the English-speaking administration for a Lusophone one. Factory councils is a law that is activated exclusively by certain sorts of revolutions. It represents the organic emergence of worker councils to coordinate labor activities in a period of crisis and revolutionary tumult. All countries that hold elections now have an electoral confidence value which reflects the degree of confidence its politically enfranchised population has in the elections being free and fair. Having a low electoral confidence negatively impacts your legitimacy, and replaces political strength from votes with political strength from wealth. The penalty for having low electoral confidence is offset by a more restricted franchise and other modifiers. And with that, electoral manipulation has now been made available for all nations, except for those that have the Tradition of Free Elections amendment applied to their law. Tradition of Free Elections is gained through the same means that electoral clientism is abolished. If you choose to not rig an election for enough elections in a row, you will lose the options to do so until a sufficiently autocratic ruler takes power. This amendment both increases legitimacy and makes it more difficult to enact a non-liberal democratic distribution of power law. International situations and global journal entries now effectively let you see what's happening in them if you are involved or notified. For example, the Peru-Bolivian Confederation is now a global journal entry, and all of these countries are involved with it and thus will be notified what's going on. New georegions have been added to the game. Now, these cover the planet and are not mutually exclusive. They can overlap each other. The purpose of the georegions is to have content specific to that region. This is a new feature that will be expanded going into the future. As of right now, the most visible implementation of georegions is the humid coffee belt. Coffee plantations within the humid coffee belt will have access to unique production methods. Slaves can now have proper revolts, and regencies have been added. So now countries with children rulers will now be served by a regency until the child comes of age. As for the map, there have been changes in Africa, Iberia, the West Indies, and Cuba. New state traits have been added in Iberia, and production of wine at the start of the game has been altered. And cultures such as Japan, where the surname is traditionally placed first, are now appropriately represented. And a final point we need to discuss is mods for Victoria 3. We talk about this extensively in Dev Diary number 164, but this update will break all mods. This is unfortunately a necessity. We would like to improve the codebase for Victoria 3 by implementing new features found in other Paradox games. We do apologize for the inconvenience that this is going to cause temporarily and recommend that you disable all mods until they have been updated to Update 1.12 standards. With that, we have covered the free changes that are coming in Update 1.12. We do hope you enjoy both the free update and Iberian Twilight.